This is Flipping the Script podcast, the soon-to-be #1 leadership podcast for purpose-driven leaders and great guest experts who give us a unique insight into what leadership looks like behind the scenes. I'm Shalia Stafford, your host, and I'm committed to helping you lead your challenges using leadership strategies to gain new perspectives, fuel your growth, and transform the way you execute on your success. Welcome back, everyone. It's Shalia here. Today, we're going to flip the script on what it means to truly lead your success. You guys know that there's no sugarcoating or filler motivation here. When it comes to our leadership, we're bringing you the organic experience of what it means to lead the complexities of your success throughout work and life. We're digging into the messages behind the message of what it means to lead your challenges authentically throughout your evolving seasons of your life. And I am so excited to introduce our guest expert today, who's going to be shedding some light into this very important conversation. After a 12-year career in healthcare as a corporate leader, Melissa left her full-time job to reinvent her life on her own terms. She believed that there was a more fulfilling and creative way of living, and she found it. Today, Melissa ignites the lives of others to create lasting change so that they can reach their highest potential by developing a peak performance mindset in a way that is fun, honest, and filter-free. She founded Evolve Global to help professionals gain clarity on the obstacles that are holding them back, identify the habits that support or sabotage their progress, and develop the flexible mindset that will accelerate results. Melissa, thank you so much for being here. We are so excited to dig into this.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for that introduction. It gave me goosebumps.
This is going to be a great conversation. I'm excited for this. It's going to have you guys on the edge of your seat. We're getting ready to get really raw about what this looks like. But before we dig into it, as a tradition that we have here on the show, we like to ask a few fire away questions to get to know you a little bit better.
Perfect.
Okay, let's fire away. So what is something that you're curious about right now?
Oh, amazing question. What I'm curious about. So I'm curious about what 2020 is going to bring in for not only my clients, but us as individuals in this world, because I just find that year on year, there's so much change that happens. I just know by this time next year, we're going to be in a completely different space, a different world. So I'm just curious about how 2020 is actually going to start and what is going to unfold throughout the year, because I think being able to master that personally and to be able to own our space in this really difficult climate we're in is absolutely key.
So what's something that makes you uncomfortable?
Fear. Fear makes me really uncomfortable. I'm going to dive into fear, but for me, being uncomfortable is actually really good. And when you embrace that, good things happen from that place of fear. It's like stepping out of your comfort zone. Being uncomfortable for me, it can be full of quite fear. We always have, even when we're these experts, we have those self-doubts, those talks, those little chinks in our armor. And I think the more that we can build our mentality to actually literally stop and just digging deeper of why we're doing that, that's the only way that we can actually excel and go to that next level. So I embrace those uncomfortable moments because I know that something great is going to happen at the end of it.
I can't wait to dig into that further.
I know. It's like a little teaser for you.
Yeah, there you go. So what do you understand today about your life that you didn't understand just a year ago?
Wow, a year ago. So knowing a bit about that curiosity. So this time last year, I was still wanting to know where life was going to lead, what was going to happen, what were those big questions and those big aha moments. And I think just embracing that is super key, because the more that you put strain on yourself in whatever area of life it is, the more that it's going to block you to actually get through that, overcome it and get past it. So actually just embracing the ambiguity in life is super powerful. And the more that I do that and just let it go, honestly, it's like a release. Some crazy but really interesting things come to mind, and fantastic things come from that place of, do you know what? Let's just let it happen. Let's just think of all the things that could be,
yeah,
and all the things that it can't be as well. Like, let's just get it all out there. And then from there, we can build such a fantastic picture. So yeah, so that's where I was a year ago, which I wish I would have told myself.
Yeah. It's funny because we don't see these little tidbits of growth that happen internally, right? We look the same, but on the inside, we've changed a lot. We've evolved a lot. We've learned a lot. And usually you don't see that type of growth.
Most definitely. And that growth just doesn't stop, which again makes me so excited to think, well, I'm here. Where is that going to be in a year's time? Where is that going to be in 2, 5, 10,
Mm,
15 years' time? And it's growing with not only your environment, but the way in which you evolve, which is why I named the company Evolve, because
I love that.
everything is that it's ever perpetual. It's going to continue. So being on this journey and being on this ride, the more that you embrace it rather than fight it, it's going to get even more beautiful, even the dark days.
It's hard to see it in the moment. You bring up such a great point because in this journey that we share in leading our lives, and that means both the challenges and the successes, a big part of it is our career, right? We spend 47 years of our life investing in our career. And that's if you take the average working from 18 to 65. So throughout this time span, we're sharing a commonality. We are all trying to live out our purpose and reach our success. But in that journey, there's a lot that happens that really tests us. And for a lot of our purpose-driven leaders who are listening, they're achieving high success and quick. They're getting the accolades. They're achieving the experience and the pay that they need and they want. But at some point, because we have a tendency to go so fast, we tend to stop and think, how do we want the next season to go? And how do we
Yeah.
lead the challenges that are coming about with where I am now? And how do I make sense of it all? How did you go about exploring that throughout your journey? Because I know you have a very interesting story, if you don't mind sharing with us.
Yeah, most definitely. And I love how you just said that season, because that's what it
Mm.
is. It's like an ongoing season. And to give you a bit of my background and story. So from the age of 18, I was a senior healthcare leader within the NHS, which is our healthcare system in the UK. And I basically went in with all guns blazing, so much full of wanting to help people and just wanting to learn. And, it turned quite a lot of people off, because who was this 18-year-old coming in? We've been doing the job for 10, 15 years. We know how it goes. And for me, I just had my blinkers on, and I really did, in just knowing that whatever I was going to do and put my hand to, it was going to touch the goal, because I knew that, like, deep within my core, that if something needed to change for people to, receive better care, to have a better service, I knew that I could help and inspire other people to do that. However, life then gets in the way.
Yeah.
And this is always the fairy tale ending, isn't it, that we look for. And I started listening to these things that people were saying. I was listening to those negative thoughts that I was just talking about that were in my mind, thinking, am I really able to do this? Can I really do this? And although I was still thriving and I was still growing, not only the businesses that I was working with, but also myself, these thoughts, because I didn't nip them in the bud early, really started to affect the way that I actually saw myself and saw my life. So within my early 20s, I had the car, I had, the gorgeous boyfriend who's now fiance, which is brilliant. I had everything. So everybody who was sort of my peers was still in university. They were still going through the motions of education. At this point, I'd been in business for nearly 5 years. I'd had all these accolades. I'd basically kickstarted my life in the best way. And they all wanted what I had. And I didn't enjoy. I wasn't grateful, and I didn't want what I had. I wanted
Mm.
more. And it's not from a place of, and I say that and it sounds like it's like I want more and being very selfish and greedy, but it is, I wanted more because I just didn't feel fulfilled where I was, because I didn't actually listen to what it was that, one, I wanted, and two, what was my mission? Yes, I was out there to help other people, but I wasn't helping myself first. And I actually went into a massive spiral of depression and anxiety, because I was doing so much. I was giving so much of myself. I was giving so much time and effort. I was spending so much money. I would give money away. Like, it was crazy what I was doing, but I didn't see it because I wasn't actually in touch with me. And it took a long time for me to realize that that was the key. That was the key ingredient that I was missing. And I see nowadays that there's so many more people going through this more and more, because yes, they might know what makes them happy, on, what makes them tick when they see, their friends of a weekend or whatnot. But it's those times in between when you're with yourself that is so key, that you have to be with yourself. You have to understand how you tick. You need to have an identity outside of your career and outside of the roles of the friend, the daughter, the girlfriend, and the dog mum, which I am. And being able to do that, it takes courage to do that, because you're going to have some home truths.
Yeah.
Sometimes some of the home truths that you don't want to hear. And the other thing as well is it's a painful journey, and it's not easy at the beginning, because you have to reevaluate everything, look at why you're doing what you're doing. And for me, being able to do that over a course of many years, what I'm so passionate about doing is helping people speed up that, because it was so painful for me, and I felt like I didn't have anyone out there who would understand where I was, because everybody wanted what I wanted, and I didn't see anybody out there, because I was so sort of lonely and in my sort of box. I didn't see anybody else that was either in the same position as me, who was loving life on the outside but feeling really sad and lonely on the inside. Being able to help people sort of kickstart that. Yes, it's going to be painful, but let's make that as short as possible, and let's start living life.
There's so much in there. And, it's interesting how you said when you first started, there was a speed train you were on. You were doing so much and you were so good at it. And it's almost like we get rewarded for working so hard and giving so much and doing so much. And we continue to get on that cycle of, oh, let's do more. And here comes the titles and here comes the additional pay, that we never really stop to think, and being so busy and giving and doing, what is it that we wanted out of all of this? And we get so deep into it, and we're seen as thought leaders and experts around what we're doing, that we think, how would we be perceived if we chose to go in a different direction at this point?
Oh, most definitely. That was a huge one for me, because I was going against, again, what everybody in my family had done, which was starting a business and sort of leaving full-time employment, leaving your pension behind that you've been building and paying a lot of money into. And not only that, you're going against it. How I saw it was, you're basically sticking up two fingers to people who are, just getting on their career ladder and just building their sort of title and their role and just sort of getting into that world. And I'm like, okay, I've had enough now. I'm leaving. Goodbye. It's kind of like, no, I've got a purpose, and it's not saying that your purpose means you've got to start a business. Mine is because I just want to kickstart and help people live their passion, find out what their passion is, regain their identity, and live their life. What you want and don't want will evolve, but you need to stop and ask those questions. Me personally, I do this the week after my birthday week. I find it so powerful to be able to gift yourself as a birthday present. What are you going to do over the next 12 months? What does it look like? Let's think about what we need to leave behind and what do we need to now gain. And those little steps for me, just keep it in mind and not be complacent about where we are in life. Because when, as you say, when we're on that steamroller and we're on that roller coaster of life, it's so easy to go, I haven't got time for that. And yeah, I'm kind of good there, but is kind of good where you need to be, or is it great?
And have you even really experienced great to even know there's better out there?
Most definitely. And this is the question. When you think it's great, it can get even better. And not kind of shying away from what could be is so crucial. Because again, when we chase the titles, when we chase the money and the promotions, and we chase the significance, we can be losing ourselves along the way. We can get lost. And wherever you start off, you really need to have an end goal in sight. And it's fine if that changes along the way. But rather than just blindly making those changes and thinking, oh, this sounds better, it's really looking at what are the goals and potentially what are the consequences of doing that. Because even if it sounds good from a a career perspective, you need to see what effects that is going to have on your life. So for me, for example, taking all of these extra job roles and these extra bits of responsibility, and some bits of responsibility that I added on myself because I felt like I had to do it. This was me. I always go above and beyond, is that I was actually, yes, I was getting the title, I was getting more money, but I was neglecting my life. I was neglecting my home life. I was neglecting my sleep, who I was. And the more and more you do that, the wheels come off, and then you can't help anyone from that place.
It's interesting because when we are in that place, we think, oh, it's just work. This is a part of work. It's how we've defined how we get work done. That eventually, if we work hard enough, it'll pay off. But it shouldn't come at the cost of interfering with some of those things that you value all the time, right? There is intentionality in all that you do. And sometimes we end up crossing the line where our work starts to seep into areas where it shouldn't. And we don't know how to notice or catch those moments that it starts to happen. And then when it is happening, what do we do? Because we justify it or we deflect it.
Most definitely. Justify, we blame, and we make excuses. And rather than owning it, which is, again, it's difficult to do, we kind of, again, go in that spiral. And the other major aspect that I didn't really see probably until about 2 or 3 years ago is the value of your time, because we can never get time back. That is one of the resources in life that we can't magic out of anywhere. We don't know how long we've got and we can't get it back. So again, when we're looking at sort of career and, what ifs and where we're going, it's making sure that you know your value of your time and your effort as well. So for me, I know that I was working so many hours that I wasn't getting paid for, which brings down my hourly rate, my value. And actually knowing, when you look at it from that perspective, if you look at it from a financial perspective, is how do you value your time outside of work, and what are you doing? Are you just sitting in front of Netflix, just zoning out? Are you worrying? Do you have those negative self-doubts? Are you blaming? Are you giving excuses? And it's the way in which our mind actually is in those periods of downtime. We know how mentally healthy we really are. And I just think it's so powerful to be able to do that exercise, to actually find out what our hourly rate is worth. And then are we willing to give that away? Even if it's to work, if it's to career, are we willing to give that away to our negative thoughts anymore? I'm certainly not. And that's why 101, I always catch myself as quick as possible. Because, I still get down days too. Right. It's not, all, lightness over here. It's knowing that, it's life. And we have the tools to be able to, and tools and techniques to be able to pull them out of the toolbox when needed.
The one thing that is guaranteed in all of our journeys is that we're going to face challenges. We cannot avoid it. Guaranteed, we will face them. And when we do, we want to be prepared to recognize them or even notice them, but know what to do. And I think very few of us have had the training and knowing how to recognize these challenges. Because if you think about it, when we're in our first years of school or in our early childhood days, we're always trained on what to do in terms of the manners we use at school and if we have a bad grade. But then we enter into the workforce and we're no longer in college, and now we have 5 to 10 years experience. And do we ever really have a class either in college or outside of that teaches us what to do and recognize the common challenges that we will face in leading the complexities of our success? Because we always talk about success as if it's this grand road that we get to and we get the title and all of a sudden we're happy and we're traveling the world and we have all this money and we just continue to go up from there. And there is no challenges that come with that. But that's so far from the reality. Success comes with so many complexities. What would you say are one of the biggest challenges for people who are leading their success?
Fear of failure is massive, because we're going to come across these challenges day after day. We don't know how they're going to arrive, what box they're in, what colour bow they're going to have on them, and how far it is going to test us to be able to either get over it, get around it, or move through it. And knowing that, as you say, the certainty of that it's always coming is seeing that challenge literally of rolling up your sleeves and what can I do? You can't fail if you have a success mindset. And what comes with a success mindset is knowing that by giving anything, you're going to give 100%. And if needs be, you ask for
Yes.
help. You pull on the help and support of others who have either been there or they're working through it. And knowing that isn't saying that you're not good enough. That's saying that you are powerful, and that stepping into that vulnerability of saying, hey, can I have some help? Hey, this isn't quite working out. What can I do? What is this bringing up for me? What are these feelings that I'm feeling, and why am I feeling them? Because the more that we can talk to ourselves in a kind way and get it out on paper is, the challenges are going to still come, but they're not going to be as challenging. And that's, for me, is reducing the
I
effect
agree.
of
It's almost like
each and
we
every
are in a
challenge.
positivity epidemic where there's so much smoke that's being blown out there in terms of these messages that are giving us the false idea of what this journey truly looks like. Things like just be yourself and figure it out. I mean, there is some truth to that, but at the end of the day, the message behind that is not really being yourself, because sometimes people struggle with, well, what does that even mean? It's, do you know the self that you're being? And do you know the self that you're being around different people, the demands of different situations? What do you notice about that? There's so much more behind that message, including so many more messages that we hear. But what's one that you tend to hear that really gets you, that doesn't really do justice in explaining to people what the journey is and how to evolve through it?
Oh my God, I've literally got goosebumps with you asking that, because it gets me so angry, is fake it till you make it. Fake it till you make it is being someone else, and you might not actually get there. And that's probably what I did when I was feeling really unwell with myself when I was sort of in my 20s, is I was being a fake version of myself. I actually wanted to be the person who I was, but inside I was so empty, I was so lonely, I was so sad. And it's doing that and taking away the mask is what's powerful. So instead of fake it till you make it, what is it that you want to do? How is it that you want to be? What is it that is the ideal of that situation when you make it? What does that look like? And then think about yourself in that position. What steps do you need to do to get there? That is so much more powerful than fake it till you make it, because you don't actually think of what you need to do. You're just basically embodying
Right.
somebody else, or what you see on Instagram, or what you see in the business magazines of this person all polished, standing there in their suit. You don't know what goes on behind closed doors. So don't second guess it. Make yourself your best self ever. And again, that's another fantastic cliche, but it is really on learning what makes you tick. It's difficult, it's not easy, but it's so fulfilling, because from there you can actually work towards what it is for you, what success is for you, what your life purpose is, and knowing that that can change, and that's absolutely fine. The more it changes, the more that evolves. Like, the more you're listening to your core of who you are meant to be in that moment. You don't have to be that person all of the time. And you don't have to be that person for years and years. Know that it's absolutely fine to, have different passions. Try it out. See what happens for you.
Yes. And you know what? It makes me think of what we have to lose by not doing that. So we can say you want to live to your best right now and you want to explore all your dreams and your visions and yada, yada. But at the end of the day, tomorrow's not guaranteed. It's not guaranteed. And we all talk about being authentic and wanting to follow authentic leaders, be authentic leaders. But at the end of the day, if we are not stepping in and embracing the uncomfortable moments and challenging our fears, are we truly authentic? Because we don't know who we are in those moments, because we've never allowed ourselves to cross that line to experience those feelings, because it can turn out to be that you learn so much about yourself and it propels you in terms of what you thought you could do and what you couldn't do. But you'll never know until you step into it. So how can we really be authentic if we're not embracing some of those challenges and the fear and the uncomfortable moments?
For me, that is totally spot on, because failure is guaranteed with almost everything we do. And it's not something to be seen as a negative. I failed so much, but I'm glad I have, because I kind of found out what worked and what didn't work. And not only that, I learned so much from it as well. And being honest, and that, when we say the authentic self, is how often, so have a think, how often have you said no to something somebody said you had to say yes to? How often do you actually stop and think, is this going to work for me? Is this going to work for my message or the business that I'm working for? Or are we just carrying on the same message, and because that's what we've always done? Because the more that you do that, the more that you're going against that authentic self and who you may want to become. Because at the end of the day, I know who I want to become in the next few months, who I want to be in the next 5, 6, 10 years. I don't know. That is going to evolve, because I know that it's going to get harder, but it's going to also get better as well. And it's knowing that that's coming. As you say, the only thing we don't have tomorrow is a guaranteed day.
And you know what? It's interesting because as I hear you say this, I think about some of the moments where I face uncomfortableness, and it's easy to sit here and say, be authentic, step into it. But the reality is that when we say that, we don't mean don't feel the feelings that come with being uncomfortable and being fearful, because it's natural for your heart to thump. It's natural for you to think, what if? But it's the definitions that we give those experiences that either will propel us into something greater or will keep us where we've always been. And the truth of the matter is, for me, I when I encounter new situations that do make me uncomfortable, where I do have my own fears, I do have these thoughts as well. But it's really noticing what definition I'm giving those thoughts in the moment and how they play into my bigger picture that helps fuel the courage that I need to take the next steps. Is that similar for you?
Most definitely. And I just, to give you an example of yesterday, so most people who will see me and they always say, you seem so confident, you've got everything made. Still say that, even though I say at times, I'm not confident because I've never done it before and I'm having to pull on a lot of might from within. Yesterday I had my first ever TV interview, and, I felt really great. I felt great going into it. I got there and my heart started pounding, when you start feeling that redness coming up from your chest up your neck. I was like, oh, body, don't let me down. And, I just had to in that moment, and I didn't care what anybody else thought around me. I just closed my eyes and I was like, what am I trying to do here? I'm trying to share my message. Yes, it's scary, but let's turn that into excitement, because, even if this goes terribly wrong, I'm going to learn something from it. I'm going to laugh about it in years to come. And if I know that from where I am right now is that uncomfortable feeling is going to propel me to the next level, if I'd have said no, or if I'd have held those feelings down and not debriefed after it with myself, which I had to do, I could have been walking around with a lot of, negativity and those thoughts sort of, and you can't see me. I'm doing like hand movements to say it's kind of a cloud over our head and our shoulders. And the more that you carry that round and don't sort of alleviate it, let it rain, but know that, the sun will come up the next day and it's a whole new day. And for me, like it was great. I stayed pink throughout, which was absolutely fine. I don't think they can Photoshop that out. Oh, natural blush all over the body. But you know what? I managed to get what I wanted to say out. It wasn't perfect, but it's absolutely fine, because I know that from there, I can then take that debrief, which I did, and kind of think what went really well. It's like I actually turned up. That was the first thing. I turned up. Second thing, I laughed at my pinkness, which I did. And, all of these little things, we just ignore the little steps that we've taken outside of not only our comfort zone, but we've taken outside of, what is the norm that we do. We kind of just say, oh, I didn't do this. And, oh, God, I made excuses. And, oh, my God, like if only the light wasn't that, bright, I wouldn't be sweating in pink. It's the light's fault. No, there was something deep within me that made me kind of think, oh, this is new. I'm not sure. Like, the body tells you things, and listening to it and embracing it is the best thing you can do.
And new is good. New is okay.
New is exciting, and it can also be really scary as well. But knowing that the more new things you do, you're a step closer to potentially where you want to be or a step away from where you don't want to be.
You just made me think of something. Being that it's a new experience, we also have to think that we have to give ourselves new information to match that new experience. Because if we don't, we're going to be using old information for our new experience.
You know, the amount of new information that is coming out day by day, the amount of my clients that say, yeah, I know this. And I'm like, that's great, but are you doing it? Are
Yeah.
you doing the do? Are you actually putting into, into action what you've learned and your knowledge? And it's the same with information. If we're trying to get to a different level in our lives and what we're doing and trying to look at things through, a different light, if we're using the same, belief systems, if we're using the same information that may be outdated, how are we ever going to be able to get there? And if anything, it just reaffirms where you are at that given time and why you're not moving. So getting yourself a new set of information, opening your mind to actually learning and listening and learning a different perspective
Yes.
can be so powerful.
And this is when you really want to think about the support system that you have around you. And it's so important that we have people around us who can help support and guide us through those new experiences, and reaching out to other professionals as well in that time if you don't, so that we can have the proper blueprint or the roadmap to guide us, to help evolve us.
Most definitely. And you know what? Even if the other person doesn't have that roadmap, get your heads together and create one. When we think about the world, when we think about the world years ago, there was no roads, or there was very few roads. And all of these roads came out and where, the direction that they were going and what were the lights that were going to be in. And, at times we have, new traffic systems that are on there. That's absolutely fine. But I would say more than two heads is better than one. I say many heads. If the right peer group and you're around the right people who want to lift you up and challenging you in a positive way, that is invaluable. And the more that you can do that and, lifting other people up whilst being lifted up yourself is incredible. I found that within my peer group, especially when early on in my career, people looked up to me, but I had nobody to look up to. Because yes, there were people where I wanted to be, where I thought I wanted to be, but we weren't value minded. We weren't like minded. Whereas I was wanting to help people, they were just wanting to help themselves. So, there are so many people out there, and knowing that, if you just open up your eyes and your perspectives a little bit wider, they're going to be there. So know that whatever you're going through right now, you're not doing it alone, and somebody else has actually been where you are, and they can help you every step of the way. Lock arms with you and do it with you.
Community is so important throughout this. It truly does take a village. And when I think about us stepping into those fearful or uncomfortable moments, how much of it do you think has to do with our ego?
Oh, wow. I love that you've brought this up. Huge element has come with our ego. And, ego is both positive and negative. But it's also looking at our intuition as well. And when we look at the likes of the comparison and, the thoughts of I'm not good enough or I'm better than this, it's really deep diving into where those thoughts originated from and why. And especially when you get into those community aspects and look at peers and like-minded and value-minded peers, it's so much easier to kind of open your eyes to what could actually be ego and being okay with that. And it's absolutely fine. And this isn't about being right or wrong or good or bad, because again, it's all evolving. You can be, you can do, you can show everything and be anything that you want to be. And knowing that at any given moment, you can say, stop, freeze, let's do something different. Let's try something different. Let's think something different for once. Let's see how it goes, then reevaluate. It's so powerful.
I think about this too. Under the surface of most of us who have had to step into those uncomfortable moments, I think underneath all of that, we know somewhere deep down that our experiences will one day fuel the growth of someone else by stepping into those moments and letting those thoughts essentially guide our action. so that we can continue to create growth all around us. Because as you were mentioning, there are some people who are about just growing themselves, and there are others, and we all are in different journeys and at different phases and evolving. But nonetheless, there is a book out there. It's called Big Potential, which is a great read that talks about small potential versus big potential. And essentially, the big potential is about creating growth all around you as you move up in the world, as you expand in the world, as you evolve in the world. You also want to bring those all around you. You want to use your experiences to help fuel the journeys of others. And then those who are looking towards small potential are more so just still in the phase of more cutthroat, just wanting to grow for themselves, willing to do it at all costs. And it looks a little bit different on each end of the spectrum. But at the end of the day, when we are looking to give out that big potential, be big potential, we want to fuel our experiences to serve the growth and the leadership journeys of others.
Most definitely. And it might not just be people who are in your organization or people who, look to the side and look up to you. This can be family and peers. Even little ones, they look up to you to see that change is good, change is okay, and change has to happen for us to be able to move forward, regardless of if in that moment we think it's good or bad. And I love what you said about the in terms of potential and the impact as well, because I was speaking to someone a couple of days ago who has been told that their potential is huge, but their vision for what is possible for them and what they're doing right now is so small. And she is basically helping people get over the fear of swimming. And I was like, wow, that sounds good. Tell me a bit more about it. And knowing the vision that she has behind it, it's not just the swimming, and being able to enjoy life and, being able to enjoy holidays and not having that fear. It's what that opens up. When you get rid of a fear or a phobia of something, it opens up that, you didn't realize what your potential was. You didn't know, you at that moment thought that that was your limitation, that you were limited. But actually, when you can get over that fear, there's so much more that you were able to do, and it's opening your eyes and showing others, and again, other generations, what is possible to be able to do that. So I absolutely love that there's other people out there who need to hear from you. They need to see you go first, and they could be closer than you think.
Yes, I love that. Okay, so as we wrap up this conversation, Melissa, I do have a question for you. What is a resource that has helped you along the way?
Oh, good question. So a resource that has helped me along the way. So a book in particular it's from Jack Canfield, called The Success Principles. Now, it's quite a long, detailed book. And for me, what attracted me to it, because it said success on the front, I was like, right, let's dive into this. And I've read this book now, I wouldn't like to say, but well over 10 times, because every time I go back to it, I pull something out from there. And it's about knowing that success looks different for each of us. And again, it doesn't need to be, attached to a title, a promotion. It's what we attach to our success in ourselves. And from there, it's mastering your mindset to be able to go from whatever step you want to and the steps to take it. Because I understand that people are in different journeys and people, aren't willing to potentially invest in themselves, but knowing that there's so many resources out there, aren't there, on how you can actually make those steps, and knowing that these are shelf development, as I like to say. You can put them on the shelf, you can pick them up, and the great thing is you can open this book at any point and you can learn a new skill. There, I think, are over 50 different skills in there. Some you may not like, some you may love, but every time I pick it up, I think of something different on how I could change that and how I can adapt that to what I'm thinking and wanting to do. So for me, that was probably why my biggest resource when I started is looking at that and thinking, wow, I'm really playing small. I thought I was playing big, but I'm playing small, both not only in my life, in business, and in my relationships as well.
I love that. And I'll be sure to include that in the show notes. Melissa, we can't thank you enough for joining us today and sharing your expertise with our leaders. It's been such a pleasure to have you on. For our audience, I do want to let you know that Melissa does have signature workshops and coaching programs that are making waves in the world of business and self-development. To learn more about how you can work with Melissa and bridge the gap to your next level, you can arrange a complimentary breakthrough call with her that I'll include in the show notes and to her website. Melissa, what is a challenge that you have for our audience as we wrap up the call?
I would like to challenge the audience to stop once a day and just think. Think about what it is that you're currently thinking, how you're currently feeling that day, and what is it that you can do in that moment to either improve that thought or improve the way that you feel. Because again, as we've said so many times throughout this, tomorrow is not guaranteed. So make sure that every day you take that time out with yourself to make sure that you can make the most of every second that we have.
To our listeners, the ball is in your court. I challenge you to take action, continue the difficult conversations, and reach out to Melissa to learn more about how you can evolve in your journey. You are listening to Flipping the Script, Leadership Behind the Scenes. We'll see you on our next episode. Thank you again, Melissa.
Thank you so much.
If you found even the smallest nugget of wisdom in this episode, share it with a friend and your friend will thank you. Let's continue the conversation with like-minded leaders and join us on Facebook at Go Flip the Script. Until next time, I challenge you to incorporate what you learned today to evolve your leadership impact.